All right. All right. I think we are live now. So, hi everyone. Welcome again. Trish and I explained last week that due to some of the new meta guidelines that we are now constricted to going live on our own Facebook page. So, with that being said, we were going live every single week in our Facebook group, talking about various topics. Sometimes fun things, sometimes very important things. But we would go live in our Facebook community, and now we're doing it here. But with that being said, today's topic is the number one way to manage autoimmune symptoms. So first, in the context of autoimmune, um, May kicked off. We are May 7th. We are 1 week into May, and the whole month of May, we have decided that we were going to focus on autoimmunity. So autoimmunity, whether that be autoimmune disorder, autoimmune disease, and if you read the Facebook, our Facebook post today, it goes over like the different autoimmune disorders and diseases that someone can typically experience. But with that being said, if you do have an autoimmune disease or disorder, the number one way to manage your symptoms is to reduce inflammation. With that being said, with the context of inflammation, one of the primary ways to reduce inflammation would be through dietary adjustments as well as lifestyle adjustments. So with that being said, do you want me to go to diet first, Trish? You're like being super, super quiet.
I know, weird, right? Usually I'm like nodding along more. We just got back from our like 4 or 5 day end of season cheer thing in Orlando. So a little bit sleepy today, trying to catch back up. But I would say start with dietary because I think lifestyle kind of like, closes it out a little bit. So yeah, I would definitely go with dietary first for sure.
So in the context of reducing inflammation, if you have been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, or you have any type of markers that are pointing to, an issue with autoimmunity, which if you were with us last week, autoimmunity is essentially a condition where your own immune system is attacking itself. So your, you know, whatever disorder disease that you have, basically your immune system, which is supposed to protect you, is turning against you. That's just the layman terms, like the simplest terms. We can go in and dig super deep, but that's just the simplest terms. But with that being said, though, from a dietary standpoint, reducing inflammation from a dietary standpoint, the best diet that you can follow would be an anti-inflammatory diet. And that would be removing inflammatory foods, common inflammatory foods that most people's immune system is going to respond negatively to, are going to be um, gluten, aka wheat, dairy, refined sugar. If we're talking about like an actual autoimmune like diet or protocol, eggs typically fall into that category. A lot of people will have an immune response to eggs or egg whites, um, refined sugar, and also nuts. Nuts and aren't legumes are added in there, isn't it? From like
Yeah,
an
legumes, nightshades. So nightshade vegetables, I guess more vegetable. Yeah. Yeah. So those
yeah.
are in there too. Um, yeah, I mean, AIP is probably just it hits everything. That's why it's a great one to kind of go with.
Agree. If someone is having an autoimmune flare, that actually follow an AIP protocol, so an autoimmune protocol where you avoid all the big hitters: gluten, dairy, sugar, nuts, eggs, nightshades. Obviously you want to
Caffeine,
avoid alcohol.
alcohol. Yeah.
Alcohol, typically caffeine. You avoid all the big hitters for at least 30 days, and then you can kind of transition more into an anti-inflammatory diet, which would be kind of like paleo. I personally think paleo is a very like easy generalized diet to follow, but I think paleo, some of the past history of paleo, I think has gotten a bad name where, you know, a lot of people associate paleo with like fats are free, you can eat all the bacon that you want, and I don't I don't think that that is, necessarily the case or is necessarily a good thing.
And it's not
Because
carb restrictive too. I think a lot of people also look at paleo as very carb restrictive, and it definitely is not. It's grain restrictive, and because again, like wheat products and a lot of grain products can be more inflammatory to people's bodies, but starchy carbs, all their fibrous veggies, fruits, very acceptable and needed.
agree. And and from the aspect, if anybody's out there and they're interested in this diet, like what Trish said, copious amounts, endless amounts of fruits, most veggies, you typically would want to avoid nightshades at least for the first 30 days, and that would be peppers, white potatoes, eggplant, um peppers,
Tomatoes,
tomatoes, yes, and what else? I think that's
mushrooms,
it.
mushrooms, onions, maybe.
No, those are not nightshades.
Okay.
Uh, peppers, white potatoes, tomatoes, eggplant. Yeah, those are primarily in the nightshade family, just for 30 days, and then, but a lot of people get confused, and they think that it's, which, when you're avoiding grains, carbs are going to be a little bit lower. But sweet potatoes, like you can eat all the sweet potatoes that you want, and they are very, very nutrient dense. So with that being said, autoimmune diet for the first 30 days, transition to an anti-inflammatory diet where you're just avoiding the big hitters, and that would be um, gluten/wheat, which is essentially the same thing, dairy, refined sugar, alcohol. And then from a supplement standpoint, I'm going to kind of push that in with dietary. From a supplement standpoint, there are a couple supplements that are fairly generic that a lot of people will take day to day that can help reduce inflammation. Turmeric is one of them. Turmeric with curcumin is one of them. Also, you can cook a lot with turmeric. If you have never tried it, it's great on vegetables. It's great on seafood. It's great on chicken. Just you can cook with it. Just be leery though; it will stain your hands and it will stain your countertops if you have light colored countertops. So be careful with that. And it will stain on your dish towels too. But turmeric, curcumin, vitamin D, and a high quality omega-3. So a high quality fish oil. Those are probably the top three that are most common that a lot of people, kind of turn to, to help reduce overall inflammation. And with that being said, Trisha is going to take on the lifestyle approaches.
Yep, and a lot of these are going to have some crossover for sure. So from what April said, you'll see some common themes that we're going to be talking about. So the first one that this also kind of goes into dietary, but maintaining a healthy weight. So excess adipose tissue, kind of having a higher weight can definitely lead to some inflammation in the body. So kind of balancing diet, maintaining a healthy weight can definitely reduce inflammation in that way. And then next, physical activity. So that has some crossover to the dietary and maintaining a healthy weight. So big physical activity and some autoimmune disorders that we hear of, like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, like a lot of those can have people feeling pretty fatigued, maybe muscle aches, things like that. But even just light exercise, like getting up, moving, standing, walking around, slow controlled resistance training, if you can do that, all those activities will be really, really great for the body and just really good to kind of keep things moving and help maintain a healthy weight also, and just help reduce inflammation there. Adequate sleep. And if you are following in the group, getting good, adequate sleep is our challenge of the week. So we can all probably revisit that at all times and do better with that. So, sleep is just restorative. We do a lot of healing, a lot of, just parasympathetic. It's just so good for us. So, getting adequate sleep, having healthy, good sleep hygiene, probably good bedtime routine, wake up routine. There's lots and lots of data around keeping a really healthy circadian rhythm in reducing inflammation and just maintaining weight, all the things we've talked about today. So that will be, gosh, I probably almost should have said that one first. That's a definitely important one. They're all important. Another thing is managing stress. So obviously chronic stress can lead to inflammation. So, just finding some really good practices, whether that's through meditation, yoga, that can be good physical movement, but also help manage stress. Having a support group, if you have an autoimmune disorder, that can be, a really scary place. You may not know a lot of people that are going through that. So maybe finding a group or people that you can kind of talk to. Everybody can share, their ideas and what's working for them really well. And then, I always say like stress buckets. We all have these stress buckets. So just making sure that they aren't, getting high and overflowing. And good things in life can become overflowing in our stress buckets too. So really just trying to like take a step back and manage all those things, because stress can be a big trigger for autoimmune symptoms. And it can also be a really huge trigger to that inflammation. April said this one, and this kind of goes into lifestyle a little bit, dietary and lifestyle, but limiting alcohol, tobacco use. So both of those can be inflammatory to the body. If anybody has ever worn a fitness tracker to bed after some drinks at night, that that can increase your heart rate, increase your stress overnight. That will also interfere with that nice, good sleep that we should be getting. So limiting those factors can definitely help reduce inflammation in the body too. And I guess the last one would be like managing your triggers. So, all autoimmune disorders have varying degrees of symptoms. They have varying severities on people, but, kind of figuring out and maybe recognizing some of those triggers, whether that is stress, whether that is a certain food, whether that is, it could be even chronic intense exercise or something, all of those things can, maybe trigger some symptoms that you're having. So really try to identify, recognize those triggers, and then, manage those triggers so that you're not, suffering with a lot of symptoms, and really just trying to limit those things. So I think that's it. You got anything else to add?
I think that's it. And just, and like what you said, if one thing, sleep is kind of like water, like water is like the most simplest, the most simple, thing that one person can do. Like if they want to make a positive impact to say lose weight, like water should be at the very top of the list. If you need to reduce stress and you're not getting enough sleep, go get some sleep.
Yeah.
That's like like above any and everything else. Kind of focus on the sleep first, which is like the low hanging fruit. That's the obvious thing. And then kind of get a little bit deeper.
Yeah,
But with that being said,
last though, we're like, oh, we'll like worry about, we'll focus on the dietary first or whatever. But, if you're doing all those things right and you're still like burning the candle at both ends and, not sucking down your water, you may not be getting the results that you're looking for.
exactly. And if you are in the need for some support, then, just make a request to join our community and, we will be happy to lend a hand. So everybody have a fantastic week and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you.